YouTube! I'm so sorry for the very long delays between my videos. Okay, so this video I wanted to do a little bit more of a report update on what has been happening, the reason why I only update once every year or something, but also I would like to do some question and answers, because I have had some questions since the past year, much thanks to the videos that I put up. So I think there's a lot of people who have a lot of thoughts on, like, how do you do comics, how do you, what materials do you use, and so on. So I wanted to answer those questions here in the video. First of all, a little update of what I've been doing. The reason why I'm gone so long between the videos is because I do a lot of books and I do a lot of stuff in the community. So just like I told you in previous videos, how to get in contact with publishers and how to get your name out there, do stuff. That's the best way. And that's the reason why I don't have time to do videos all the time. So I've been doing, for example, books. I finished my Sword Prince Malmö series. Here is all 3 books. This is the final book that I made. So together they are all like 500 pages, like this. Whoa! 5 years working on this project, so I'm finally done, and that's really nice. Since I finished Amalthea, I also did this together with Nosebleed Studio, my partners in crime, so to say. So we're the Swedish manga studio I told you about in my previous videos, and this is our 10 years jubilee anthology. It's amazing, 10 years together. So this book together we did in English, and that was really nice. I had a chance to do something shorter than 500 pages, which is nice for once. So I made this story about a person that are like, not without telling you too much, it's about the whole book is about friendship. So this is about a person who doesn't have many friends because of the life the person lives, a traveler. So I don't want to tell you too much. I hope you guys can be able to read the book at one time in your life. So get your hands on the book. If you're in Sweden, you can find it in libraries. If not, you can buy it via Nosebleed Studio's homepage. I recommend it highly. It's a lot of manga inside. So that's what I've been doing, and I've also been working at a comic art school in Sweden, in Malmö. A lot of work, which I'll be doing this fall as well, so that's nice. I'm also planning a lot of trips, and I hope to do videos about those trips as well, maybe even film from the trips, but I can't promise too much. So let's go over to the questions. One of the questions I've had several times on the YouTube channel, and I'm thinking maybe I should just talk to you about this, is the question about the gloves. Like, I use gloves when I ink. So I actually have here with me the box for the cotton knitted gloves that I use. This is cotton knitted gloves that you use when you have like problems with you have like itchy things on your hands, like if you work with cloth, for example, and you get fabric, the materials, the chemicals, you're maybe allergic to the chemicals, or and you get like eczema on your hands, I think it's called, then you need cotton gloves. But I think many buyers are actually artists, because cotton gloves is very good when you ink. So what I do, I take one of these gloves. So these gloves are like white, very thin gloves. It's very good because especially when it's warm outside, like now in the summertime, it's good because it doesn't get you sweaty hands. So this glove, it's quite nice. Now I lose the grip if I use it like this. So what I do, I just cut off the fingers of this one. I cut off the thumb and the index finger. What's it called? Index finger? I don't know. Well, you will see. I'll cut off the fingers I use when I hold my pens. So it's important to have a firm grip, but still protect your hand and your paper. So the reason why I use a glove is because, like this. Now I can hold the pen with these fingers and the rest of the hand is protected. And this is not because I'm I have to keep my hands clean. It's not like I'm like that. It's more like actually to protect the paper from the grease on your hands. Because if you have grease, like we have greasy hands all the time, it's a good thing for us to be able to I mean, our hands need grease. If they didn't have it, we would dry out. So the reason why we use gloves is to protect the paper from the grease, the natural grease on our hands, and also because if it smudges, if the pencils or the green nibs, the green shark nibs that I'm talking about in the previous videos, if they ever smudge, you get smudge on your glove and not on your hands, and that's better because it doesn't smudge as much. And also a good thing is because you get more smooth lines, because since you don't get stuck with your greasy hands on the paper, you can flow, the lines can flow a little bit better. So the glove is very important. And one of these boxes, like a box like this, actually you get a lot of them, like 5 pair, 10 of them in one box, and it only costs like $5, €5, about that. So it's not that much. So I recommend a glove, that's a good thing. Another thing you asked me a lot of things about is the paper. What paper do I use? And previously I used a paper that I think most of you won't be able to get hands on, and right now I can't get my hands on it either because they stopped producing it. So it was a very local shop, did their own paper. They didn't do the paper, that they bought the paper but they cut it. But I don't know where they bought the big paper stacks. But now they started selling another paper. It's this one, Bristol Fabriano, and I actually like it quite well. So I recommend this one. And the reason why you want the paper to be like smooth, because if it's not smooth, your pens will. The paper will suck up the ink in the pen, and you will lose money. So good thing with smooth paper, many reasons. The steel nibs glide better, the brush ink glides better, the pens, you save the ink in a pen, you don't get like hairy lines, like the lines are like all smudgy. It's much better. So if you don't find Bristol Fabriano, but you find something similar that has the same surface and might be cheaper, that's good. That's very well. But you have to find a paper for inking. That's important. So I recommend Fabriano. Some of you also asked me about the nibs. I have some nibs here just to show. These I bought in Japan. They're quite used. Tachikawa, I like them a lot. Especially the Maru nibs and the I don't know if this is the Maru. I think this is the Maru nibs. I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure. And some deleter nibs. Actually, I would recommend you, and it sounds like I'm kind of telling you to buy their stuff, but what I've noticed is that deleter ink and deleter nibs, they work well together. And actually with the deleter paper, it's like it's a good combo. For some reason, I wonder why. It's the same company. Well, at least there's a good reason to use it. So if you're into deleter stuff, buy the whole set. It's a good thing. I experience it as a good thing, at least. Because like I told you in previous, I think in the inking videos I wrote in the text that it's important to find a good combo. If you feel like it's so hard to get the nibs like work with you, it's probably because you have the wrong ink or the wrong paper. It's like, think of the nib as a team leader, and the team leader enters into a group where there has been a previous team leader, the pens or maybe the brush, and suddenly the team leader, the new team leader, the nib, take over the responsibility of making it work. But if the paper is wrong because they worked with the other previous materials, or if the ink is wrong because it also worked with about the previous materials, then the team leader, the nib, will fail. So you're setting it up for failure if you don't have the right nib, the right ink, and the right paper. So find a good combo. That's the most important thing to remember. For the next part of this video, I wanted to answer some questions that I've had via email. I got an email for a long time ago, well, between this video and the previous video, which was almost a year ago. This email was from Signe. She asked me about how to become a comic artist and tips and tricks. So I asked her if it was okay for me to just share these answers I gave her via email, to share it also in a video. And she said, all right, do that. So I'm gonna tell you, just read up on what I told her. Her questions was, what do you go about making a manga page? Fixing, for example, sketching, size of paper and use of computer, etc. Instead of just working with a paper all the time, I actually do a combo of it, and I think many artists do. Either they fully go digital and only draw digital comics, or they do actually a little bit of both. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit what I do. The best way is actually to find artists you like and see if you can find a person that talking and writing about their work process. This is a good thing to find online. For example, many artists today share their knowledge and share their work process on YouTube actually. So you can find a lot of interviews and a lot of tricks and tips from other artists. Check it out, I think. So check it out. My personal process is like this. I come up with an idea and I draw maybe I sketch the characters, I think about the idea, I let it grow a lot, like for several months or even a year or two. Like with Amalthea, it took me 2 years to actually, from I came up with the idea to actually draw the first page. And I think that's important. I think it's important to have time for growing the idea. And then I also write down a manuscript. So when I have the idea finished in my head, I do the actual storyline from the beginning to the end in just points, like step 1 this happens, step 2 this happens, just like go through the whole story. And if I ever get stuck, I use one tip I got from a book that I've recommended before. It's actually to start in the end of the story. I think this is similar what I've told in the previous comic video, so I'm not gonna do a full in detail of this. Then I do the sketches. I draw sketches of each page, like actually do them digitally. And this is because it's easiest to move stuff and to text the whole thing to make it readable. My hand texting is bad. You don't want to see it. So I think it's easier to do it digitally because it's more readable in the end. And also another good thing with doing digital sketches, I feel, is that if my editor or if my feedback, the people that give me feedback on the sketches, if they have anything they want me to change, it's easier to move around pictures and to cut and paste stuff, add pages and so on. Another reason why I do digital sketches is because then I can, in the end, actually use my screen, yes, I do use my computer screen, as my light table. I take the screen, I put it down and I put my paper on top of it, like this paper, a sheet of this paper. I take like this sheet of the paper, put it on top of my screen and then trace from that. I know this is not good for the screen, so I'm a bit careful, but I also have a computer that I'm not that careful with, that is like 7 years old, and it's kind of like my digital light table right at this point. So I trace it over to a page and then start inking. And that's the next step. I start drawing and inking the page on top of the paper. Now, a good thing you should remember is that the size of the paper is important as well. It's good to draw in a size that is bigger than the printed version. And if you ever decide to print it in A4 like this, or like B4 or something, you have to do it bigger than that. I prefer B4 because B4 is between A4 and A3. I know the Americans, you use letter sizes, right? So it's a bit different, but I think a letter is similar to A4 or something like that. So it's important to remember you have to draw bigger. And this is for several reasons, because if you draw the lines, ink, and you might be a little bit shaky in your hands. I know everybody of us are, especially in the beginning. The good thing with drawing bigger is that when you then shrink it, you don't see the details that much. You don't see those shaky lines as much. So that's why I think it's good to do it on a bigger paper. So I use B4, which is the manga paper size. I have used A3 as well, sometimes. And then when I'm done with inking on paper, I scan the whole paper. And yes, you need to have a scanner that fits it. It's so much easier. So I have an A3 scanner. And then I scan it. And in the computer, I add screen tones using Photoshop or Manga Studio or some other program. I've used different programs, so it's depending on the process, depending on the project. With Amalthea, I actually screen toned it in Photoshop. So I can do a video about that later if I have time, if I ever get time. I'm not gonna promise any videos because I don't do them, sorry. I'm just gonna do a video if I have a time, and I will at some point. So that's what I do, and I also text in Photoshop, and then I prepare the page for publishing. Actually, the whole preparing for printing is like a full-hour tutorial, needs a full-hour tutorial in itself. And it's quite connected to the screen toning. I've been working with comics or manga for like 10 or 15 years, and it took me about 10 years to learn how to screen tone without making it ugly in the printed process. So I hope I can do a video about it later on, because it's kind of difficult to just explain in words here. We need to go into it a little bit deeper, and probably with the screen visible so you can see what I do in Photoshop. So, let's see what the next question was. The next question. How often do you work on your manga, and how long does it take you to finish a chapter? This is a question that is a very good question, because I think many young readers out there or listeners, many of my fans and new followers might ask, like, is it worth it? Is it worth to actually do comics? Isn't it like a really hard, like, pain in the ass? And yes, I can tell you, yes, it takes a lot of time, and it is a pain in the ass. It's not a stroll in the park. But if you like drawing, and especially if you like drawing your characters, it's such a fun thing to do. It's like, when I sit and draw, I don't notice it's time. Like there's no end to the day. I can just keep on drawing all the day if I want to. Some days I actually work like 12 hours, 14 hours, just because and I don't see it as work. I just draw. It's so fun. I even forget to eat or drink or like go to the toilet even. Don't tell people. Well, okay, so you wonder, how long does it take to make a page and a chapter? A page takes approximately 1 day to make, and that's including, for me at least, and that's including sketching and manuscript, not including the idea, because that takes for ages to just develop, but including like the actual work you do with a page, approximately 1 day. But that depends on, like, I work in black and white and with screen tones. If I did it in color, I would probably do 2 days per page. So it all depends on what techniques you use and how much detail you have, and also if you're a very fast artist or if you're a slower artist. Like, it all depends on so many variables. So you can't really say it's this amount of time. But for me, it's 1 day per page if it's black and white. And how long does it take a chapter? Okay, so we can just count on it. Before I started working on Comic Art School, I had all days in week, almost all days, because sometimes I went to Comic Cons or comic festivals in the weekends, and sometimes I had like manga workshops. I did manga workshops on different schools and libraries, so that's not like, it depends on how much I actually have to do. But now I work 2 days at Comic Art School, so the rest of the week I work with the comics, which means it does take more than a month to do a chapter, but it also depends on what kind of comic. With Sword Prism Althea, I think I could beat a chapter in a week. In a month, I mean. Oh my god, not a week. Oh wow, that would be fast. So a chapter of about 30 pages takes a month if you work almost every day. And it also depends, like I said, on how much details and how much work you put into every page. It depends. The next question is, do you write a pitch for your manga? Are there any specific tips? How do you write a pitch? If it's a publisher you're after, like you're gonna send it into a publisher or a magazine or something, it's a good thing to do a pitch. And this is a good question, actually. I have written several pitches in my days, but not all of them were like, wow, people got me. I've had refusals, so I'm not an expert, but I'm gonna give you some tips that you need to think about. And I'm not gonna tell you how to write it, but what you need to think about. First of all, you need to show something, of course. You need to show some finished pages. Many artists do, or especially writers, if they're a comic writer and they maybe find an artist and they just say, oh, we just send in the pitch with text. And this is a big mistake, because you have to remember that the artwork, and especially the flow of the page, the flow of the story in pictures, in how you tell a story in pictures, that's a big issue. That's like half or even more maybe of the story. You can have a really good idea, and if you can't tell it in pictures, then it's not a good comic. So you have to show finished pages. How does a page, like, what does it look like? How is the flow? What does the character look like? You can also add some character sketches or finished character designs to just show how the character looks. It's a good thing as well. So the pages, and it also only needs to be several, like 10, as maximum of 10. Remember, you don't need to overwhelm the reader. You could add like a chapter, 30 pages if you want to, but not more than that. If it's more than that, remember the editor also wants to be part of the process. So if you add more than 30 pages, the risk is the editor will feel like you've already done the whole comic. They can't really affect the storyline. So many editors want to become part of the process, and you don't. If you do too much before you send in the pitch, like finish the book already, the editor will feel like they don't really get the chance to help you with the story and be part of the story. There are other editors that want the whole story from the beginning. So, I mean, you can try, send in a chapter, ask them if they want the whole story or just a chapter, but don't send in too late. That's also a good tip. Of course, next to the pages and the character sketches, you also need to have, for example, a front page. It's a good thing to have a cover illustration already done. So, like, think about the design of the book. How do you want the book to look? Will there be, like, how is the text? Do you have a logotype? Remember to make it as professional as possible. Maybe find some friends that are more like graphic designers. If you're not into that, you can find someone that does, and make it look good. Now, next to all this graphic stuff, you also need some text, of course. And a good thing is to have, for example, a synopsis. I think I have told you before about synopsis in a previous video, to actually write down your story and not too much text. Like, keep it to one page and keep it not like small text and tightly written. It should be readable and enjoyable. So summarize the whole story, including the ending, because if you have the ending, they can see, oh, is this a story that we can that we feel is symbolic to, like, can we stand behind this theme? So you have the visual stuff, you have a synopsis, but you also need to have a letter. And this letter should be addressed to the person you want to address, like the editor or the specific company. It's always best to find a person you actually send it to not send it to the whole company, like this and this publisher. It's better to send it to this and this editor, like the name of the editor. Then it feels much more personal. And in the letter, you need to be able to convince the person why they need to print your comic and why the comic is so perfect for their line of books, what they already have. So talk about, like, what's the in this letter, I can actually point out what you need to have in the letter, because I've been like researching this a little bit. You need to tell them why they need to print this, why the book is such a good, perfect match for their publishing line. Like, if they already publish comics, why? Which comics do they publish, and what is your comic about? Is there some similarities? And this is a reason why you should send your comics to the publishers that already print what you're making. Like, if you're making fantasy comics, find a fantasy comic publisher. Or if you make comics about politics, find a publisher that print comics about politics. Or do political books, for example. So it doesn't have to be a comic publisher. It could be a usual publisher, like a book publisher or a magazine publisher. But if they have genres that you're like themes you're touching upon in your story, or a genre you have in your story, then it's usually a good bridge between your story and their line. So why it fits so well with them? You need to talk about the audience of your book. And yes, you need to know what is your audience, what age, what like identities do they have, what interests do they have, everything about that. Talk about that as well, and how that ties in with their book, with their already publishing line. And also talk about like what your plans are with the story. Are you gonna make like for example, what's your marketing plans? What's your plans with the book? What do you want the book to matter for people? Like, do you think the book will be good for educational purposes, or is it mostly entertainment? And how do you get it to the audience? Will you attend certain shows, or will you be how active will you be, and what will you be doing? And this might be scary for some of you if you're more of a introvert. I'm actually an introvert as well, like an extrovertal introvert. Like, I can talk in front of people, but I need to like rest in my own space sometimes as well. And I understand you if you are an introvert that needs to stay in your little bubble and just be protected. Now remember, the book will not sell itself. So you have to be able to step out of that comfort zone at some point. And when you do, you will practice and learn. And at some point you can do that by like just pulling a switch, and you start selling a book, and then you can go back to your little bubble. So I think it's a good thing to practice. So those are things you need to keep in your letter. That was a long answer to the pitch. I think that was what I wanted to say. Let's see if there's any more questions. Okay. What publishing opportunities are there for a manga artist? And do you have better options in certain countries? Now, this is a very, very good question, Signe. Okay. First of all, this changes a lot. This changes from each month, actually. The past several months, things have been happening a lot. Like, if you this question, actually the answer I gave her in this question, I think it doesn't apply today, because if you asked me half a year ago, I would say you can go for the Japanese market or for the European market, because it's pretty divided. But actually, the past several months we've seen several European artists, especially French. I think mostly French, that have been published. That first was published in France, and then became published in Japan as well, with the same book. And this opens up so many doors for us artists. We don't have to travel to Japan anymore, and we can start with our careers over here first. So today, I would recommend you to just start in your little circle. Begin with a small circle. Start with making comics for your friends. Start making comics locally. Start making comics in your country, and then grow internationally. And at some point, you will be able to make your name internationally. But don't aim for international audience. Unless you do webcomics, you can aim for international, of course. But don't expect to get all the audience from the beginning. It's good to remember that opportunities is not something that, like, when it comes to being published, it's not like there's an opportunity and you just run for it and suddenly you're published. It's more like you have to find the opportunities, you have to dig and dig and dig and just search and do a lot of networking. Many things I've talked in previous videos actually. So I recommend highly to just start doing comics, showing them, and aiming for a small audience. Like start with a smaller audience and then you grow and grow. What I've been doing in my career is that I started with Sweden, and I think today that I would say that I'm today one of the most famous manga artists in Sweden. So I've kind of like become when it comes to manga, I'm a big fish in a small pond, and I'm trying to like get out of this pond and grow for go to bigger water, so to say. So right now I'm searching for like American and French, Belgian publishers, and like internationally I'm going to Italy this fall actually. So that's what I've been doing. I have actually, like I've told you in previous videos that I have sent stuff to Japan as well, but my goal wasn't there to become published, I think, especially since I wouldn't have been ready for it, like time-wise, but mostly because I wanted the experience, I wanted the knowledge, and I wanted the feedback, because the Japanese editors are very good at giving feedback. Go for your own country first and then grow internationally. That's my tip. How important is it to have a backup plan for another job? Oh, there's so many good questions. Okay, yes, good question. It is important mostly because, like any freelance work, this job depends on your creativity, on your how inspired you are. It also depends on how much time you have on pushing yourself, on promoting yourself, on like developing new ideas and searching for new connections. If you feel like you're not the type of person that can do that on your own, maybe you need a day job just to be safe. But I would actually recommend, if you could get a day job that maybe you work like 50% or 80%, that you have some time spared for your drawing, that would be awesome. That's what I have with my comic art school. So I work 50%, 50 to 70%, and the rest of the time I have time for drawing. Okay, when should I go to half time? I would say that's the time when you feel like you want to earn money from your comics. Because if you don't earn money from your comics, it's a bad idea to go down to 50%, because then you will lose half of your income. So why I have 50% only is because I earn the rest from my comics. So I have a full payment in the end, but I wouldn't have if I didn't have the comic art school work. So yes, you need to have a backup plan, but instead of a backup plan like skipping the comics, unless you want to do that in your time anytime, I would recommend you to just find jobs that kind of link to your passion for comics. Maybe working like a part-timer on a publisher or a bookstore or a library, or like me, comic art school, teaching if you like teaching. There's a lot of comic artists that are like art teachers in schools, I know. So I would recommend you to do that. You can also live from doing comics, of course, but that demands a lot from you, and it also needs a bit of luck. Like you have to, if you do a webcomic and you want it to become a big hit, you need to just have a little bit of luck as well, I think. You have to find the right ways to earn your fans and find fans, and then you also need a little bit of luck to get it out there. But that's actually, if you want to go full-time comic artist, I totally recommend webcomics, not doing books, sadly. Okay, I think there's one last question. How important is an art education? Very. Now, it's not important as if as like you can't make it as a comic artist if you don't have an art education. That's not true. But if you want to start your comic making and you don't have time to practice and time to like enjoy it, which you can do at a comic art, like a comic art school or an art school, usually what's good with that, with those educations, is that you get time. You get time to work on your craft. And that's what you have to think of your comics. It's a craft. And craftsmanship is nothing. It's not something that you learn from by birth, like you just have it in your blood. It's not like that. It's something you learn by doing, and you have to have time to do it. So if you, listener, viewer of this, might be thinking, okay, I have been spending a lot of my time doing other stuff, but I have a dream of becoming a comic artist. How do I go from what I do now, 100%, what I do like work or studies, like something else, to doing comics? How do I do that? And then my best tips for you is start practicing. And you don't have to do it like full time. You don't have to quit your job. Just start practicing like a half an hour to an hour every day. But at some point, it might be a good thing to take like a year leave from your work or your studies to go to an art school and just practice. If you can go to an art school, of course. It depends on money, but it depends on many stuff, many things. Or maybe you can take like evening classes or something locally. So there's maybe many more chances than you think. And also, there's so many good videos on YouTube. I recommend you to actually just do your own lessons at home, to just give yourself exercises. That's pretty much it. Those are the questions, very good questions from Signe. And thank you for the questions and all the comments you put up on my my YouTube channel. I'm so glad I have so many followers. Like, I don't know where you come from, but I'm so happy. And keep asking questions. I will do more question and answers videos in the future. So if you have specific questions like how do you do this, just write it below and I will answer it. And hopefully I'll keep doing my step-by-step how to make comics. Thank you so much for watching and see you. Bye!